Hi, Morgan. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so as you know, we're opening up enrollment into the association, and we like to talk to associates who have transitioned successfully into industry, such as yourself, before doing that. And so, again, thank you for being here.
No problem.
So let's just start with start simple. Maybe tell us your name and the industry position you transitioned into.
I'm Morgan By. I am now currently Computational Biologist and Pipeline Manager at the British Columbia Cancer Agency. We're actually in a little spin-off company of the BC Cancer Agency, so we are the Genomic Science Centre.
Oh, great. Okay, so you've made this transition successfully. You're in industry now. I want to rewind a little bit to before you transitioned, even before you joined the association. And maybe you could talk a little bit about the struggles or the challenges you were having before joining in terms of your job search.
Oh, in terms of my job search, before I joined the association, I don't think there was much of a job search. I had a miserable Ph.D., a horrible supervisor that I just, quite frankly, hated. I hated everything about it. But I built my entire life towards being a professor. And so I kind of assumed that this was all steps you did along the way. So it was a really hard thing to do, to give up on that dream, and I wasn't ready to do it. So I got to the end of the PhD, and I did what anybody else would do. I did a trial by fire. I didn't know if it was the science I hated, if it was the lab I hated, if it was the supervisor, if it was the terrible project, or if it was just science in general. So I got a wonderful job offer from a rock star in the field to do a postdoc, so I thought, why not? I had nothing else going on, so I took a postdoc, and it was only 9-10 months into that where I had a rock star of a boss that was very supportive. I had a project that was going somewhere, and I just wasn't happy. And I really started asking myself some serious questions, some tough questions, and it was around that time that I decided I needed some help. I mean, I don't think there's any shame in that. You know, if I want to get fit, I have no shame in asking for a personal trainer. So why not ask an expert for what the hell I should do with my life?
Yeah.
And it was just serendipitous. It was around the time that Cheeky Scientist had started posting some blogs, and they really resonated with me. So it was a very easy decision to sign up.
Great. Oh yeah, thanks for sharing that. So you joined the association, and if you can think back to, there's always some uncertainty when you join something, you don't know what to expect. In terms of just the materials, right after you joined, you started going through it, what resonated with you the most, or what were some of the aha moments you had early on?
So the response was very fast. Once I'd signed up, and the counter hit 0, and almost immediately I had some very pleasant emails in my inbox, and attached with some PDFs to start working my way through, and in those was the transition plan, and it started with some very inspirational stories, and I found that amazingly helpful, because to instigate a change requires a certain level of courage to sort of walk away from everything you've known and everything you've built up in your minds. Takes a lot of work, and you kind of have to talk your way into doing it. I mean, you've kind of already made the decision, but at the same time, the fact that you've made the decision scares the hell out of you. And so to hear some honest truths that there is a world out there, and as bad as you think it is now, there's always going to have been somebody that's worse than you, and there's always the potential to be better. So the transition plan I found was great, and the fact that it made me sit down and actually define what my future would look like was fantastic. Because once you get out of your head and you start committing stuff to paper, and you can actually figure out where you want to be, and you stop going around in the same little circles in your head of, I'm just not here, just not here, just not here.
Yeah.
Once you start defining that, it becomes a very powerful vision of where you actually want to be.
Yeah.
And then, of course, very soon after, there was the first Cheeky Scientist webinar of your good self and Mr. Michael Smith.
Yes.
And that was just, I think, the biggest clarity, that biggest clarifying moment I've had in my life. Your opening couple of sentences with Michael were just phenomenal. And I instantly didn't think about the money, I didn't think about anything else. I just knew that this was the best investment I've ever made in my life.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, thank you. I think the last question is, in terms of the private group, you've been a very active member in the private group. You continue to be. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what this private group meant for you and how it helped you specifically, and just talk a little bit about the private group in general from a PhD's point of view.
As a scientist, I think the system is set up such that we work in isolation an awful lot. And it's very easy to forget that there's a big, beautiful world out there. And sometimes you forget about the same people on the bench over, working in the same lab as you, that are supposed to be in the same team as you. And you forget entirely that they're there. And that isolation, and the fact that in academia you don't have anybody that left that comes back and talks to you. All you know is the people that stayed. And they're always preaching to you, well, of course the system's perfect, because it picked me. I survived. And to be thrown from that level of isolation into a group where everybody was thinking the same. Everybody had questions. Nobody really knew necessarily how to get to the answers, but everybody was at least asking the same questions. That camaraderie was brilliant and is fantastic, and it's the reason I continue to contribute. Because the thing is, scientists are brilliant people, and when we work together, amazing things do happen. It's just sometimes, as the system as it is, you forget that there are other people out there. So I loved the group always for the support, for the ability to just share good articles with each other, just for a general pick-me-up if you're ever feeling down about the whole job search. Because it happens. The job search does take a lot of strength. And sometimes you feel like you haven't got any more to give. And that's when you really need the support structure. And that's what Cheeky Scientist gave me. And that's why I will always continue to contribute back.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Morgan, for taking the time to share all that. Very good insights. We look forward to watching your continued success and wish you the best in your career.
Thanks very much.